Hello, listeners, and welcome to this episode of Hacker Talk. My name is Philip, and I will be your host today. And joining me today is Pavol Luptak, an IT security expert, a personal friend of mine, founder of multiple businesses, some which are IT security related, currently CEO of the IT security company named Nethemba. He is also a contributor to the OWASP Web Security Testing Guide, organizer of various conferences, Preventer Traveler, Hacker, and our guest of honor today. How are you doing today, Pavol?
I'm super fine. Thanks a lot for the invitation.
So I'm really curious. I think all our listeners also, you've been doing IT security for a while, but what got you here today? What got you interested in IT security and hacking and technology?
Okay, so now I'm quite involved in IT security of cryptocurrencies. And at the same time, I'm quite focused on the privacy of mobile platforms. Mobile application and prevention against like a various scamming effects, for example. So at this time, I can say I'm interested in many different topics. Yeah.
But how did you get here? How did you become interested in IT security from the beginning? How did it start?
Very good question. It was started like maybe 25 years ago, when I was just 18, and I just finished my high school and I decided to study like computer science at the university. And at that times, we had like the first Unix servers, these very exotic platform like Digital Unix, for example, or Unix,
nice.
and all these like strange, quite obsolete platforms. I started, so in that time, 25 years ago, I started to learn Unix. It was like many years ago before Linux started to become so popular. And on these platforms, I was just trying to hack them. I was just looking for potential vulnerabilities, looking for exploits, writing exploits, and exploiting these really old platforms because the goal was always to obtain the root.
Nice.
And that was basically the beginning. I just personally, I don't like any restrictions. So for example, at that time when someone created me like a normal user account, I felt quite like limited. So I was just looking like, is it possible to do something more? And that's exactly what I started to be interested in IT security, and I started to look for ways and how to bypass, for example, many systems and many vulnerabilities. So yeah, that was my beginning, my start.
Nice. So you started your journey with writing like escalation exploits and
my native language. Okay, my native language is C, like a traditional C. So basically, most of code I did in traditional C, and I also have many experience with the assembly language. So for me, it was quite easy to write like a shellcodes, for example, because before I also wrote some code at 8-bit and 16-bit computers.
Oh,
so I'm like a low language guy, like an assembly language and C. And that's exactly what I needed to, this experience and this knowledge to be able to write exploits. So my first exploits were like on these very crazy platforms. It was like a RISC processor. So for example, I learned like RISC assembly language, which is a bit different, that assembly language, for example, for Intel or AMD. And that's how I started.
Oh, wow. And then it just grew from there, and I started doing more and more. And
yeah, and then in a few years, I started to do like a first penetration testing, like application, first desktop application, then web application. So basically, I became like a penetration tester, and I was looking for very different vulnerabilities, many different systems. And then I with my colleagues, I also did some like public security research. So we basically hacked some like publicly available technology. Probably one of the most famous project was that we created the first open source implementation for tracking MIFARE Classic like RFID cards, which are super popular. This package is called like MFOC, and you can find it in almost all like hackers typical hackers Linux distribution. You can use this package for tracking your RFID cards based on MIFARE Classic, for example. And this is one of like quite famous open source project. And then we reveal a lot of vulnerabilities in publicly used system in the Czech Republic and Slovakia. For example, we found vulnerabilities in SMS ticket systems. For example, we find a way how you can travel for free. Also, we found another vulnerabilities in SMS parking system. So how it's possible to park in Bratislava and the biggest city for free. And we had many like public security research projects, and we basically, it was just a PR like promotion. And of course, we follow the responsible security disclosure acts. One of the last project was that we basically found critical vulnerabilities in the system, which is called eCasa. This is used by all Slovak companies, basically all entrepreneurs, to register cash operation. So basically, it's like a massively used system, and this system is some specific secure module. So we find a way how to basically bypass functionality of this security module. And recently, what we did was we found like a critical vulnerabilities in a COVID, like a government institution, which is called National Healthcare Institute, which is responsible for basically gathering all COVID tests, like antigen and PCR tests, including all COVID vaccination for all Slovak residents and citizens. So basically, we found a way how to download the PCR test or antigen test for all Slovak citizens. And
what happened there? Did someone just log into the website and start randomly pressing functions, and then something magically happened, or was it like dedicated? Was it a coincidence?
Yeah, this is like a good question, because like normally in our company we don't work for the government, so we have pretty strong like ethical rules. So we don't work for the governments or the government institution. So we did not look for these kind of vulnerabilities proactively. So we reveal these vulnerabilities by pure coincidence. When I say pure coincidence, we really reveal these vulnerabilities by pure coincidence. Because we were basically downloading our own PCR test, and there were like multiple different vulnerabilities. But for example, the first vulnerabilities, which we revealed last year, almost 2 years ago, when the pandemic started, was the vulnerabilities. It was like a very stupid, very simple vulnerability, enumeration vulnerability. So by just checking like one parameter in a GET request, we were able to download all certificates of all citizens. So this vulnerability was pretty stupid.
And that was just requesting an ID from them or something.
Yeah.
There was no authentication on the...
Exactly. No authentication, no prevention against like a massive downloading, like a denial of service protection, nothing. So basically you were able to enumerate all IDs and download like all certificate of all citizens. Very stupid vulnerability. And I'm still surprised that this vulnerability is so common. For example, in Paraguay, I found like a COVID testing center, and they still have the same vulnerability, the same stupid enumeration vulnerability where you can download all certificate of all people. So this was the first vulnerability. And recently like 6 months ago, we found like a more complex vulnerability, how to download COVID, EU COVID vaccination certificate of all people. And we did like a proof of concept. So basically we downloaded the COVID certificate of all Slovak politicians, all famous Slovak politicians. So basically we found out like who exactly is vaccinated and who is not vaccinated. And this vulnerability was like more sophisticated. Maybe I should explain details of this vulnerability because it's quite interesting.
Yeah,
in Slovakia, we have like multiple different like COVID systems. So for example, if you want to travel to Slovakia now, you need to fill the form, which is called eHranica, which means like an e-border. So basically, when you want to come to Slovakia, you need not only to Slovakia, but basically to any country, you need to fill some like a COVID form from which countries you visited before, if you're healthy, if you have like a COVID vaccination or PCR test, where you are planning to stay. Basically, this mandatory location tracking COVID form is mandatory to fill when you want to visit Slovakia. Not only Slovakia, but also many other countries. Like 6 or 7 months ago, I was flying from Kiev, from Ukraine to Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia. And I was filling this like e-border form, web form, which was mandatory.
Yeah.
And I was filling this form, and one of the you need to put like a birth number. Basically, birth number is it's some kind of derivation of your birth date. So basically, you have birth date, which are like 6 digit, and then you have like another 4 random digits. So birth number is basically 10 digits, including your birth date. So, and in Slovakia, the Czech Republic, and these like European countries, basically every citizen, every resident is identified using this birth number. So when I was filling this form, I used this birth number, and that I'm traveling from Kiev to Bratislava, and because I was in a hurry, I didn't use my own my personal mobile number and my personal email, but I used like some random border phone number and some random emails, and I submitted this form, and I came to Slovakia. Everything was fine, and then I tried to download my EU COVID vaccination certificate. Because at that time I already had like 2 doses of vaccination, so I was trying to download my COVID certificate, but it didn't work. And I was quite confused why it didn't work. So I was trying to call to this like vaccination center in Slovakia. Please help me. I have this problem, but it was not possible to call to this vaccination center. Like not at all, especially during this peak of pandemic. And then I was just thinking how I can download my COVID certificate. So there was like another special government form where I can download this COVID certificate. And then I tried to use my birth number, like which is unique for each citizen or each person. And I used not my official email, but I used this like a random email I used before when I was filling this form from Kiev to Bratislava. And it worked. And I was shocked. And I realized like really one interesting situation that when you're filling like this travel COVID form to Slovakia, and like a birth number of any person in Slovakia, you basically can change his contact email and his contact number. And this was like a crazy. So because they, I don't know why, but they use the same database. So basically I found out that if I know the birth number of any politician, any person, I can change his contact number and his contact email, and I can ask for resending his COVID certificate or information about like antibodies test or anything COVID related. Just to explain again, there is like a different functionality. The first functionality is like a COVID travel form you have to fill when you want to travel to any country, for example, Slovakia. Then you have another application where you can download your EU COVID certificate. Like I think every European country have these two applications. And what I found out is that I don't know why, but these two applications, they shared the database of their users. So using the first application, using the travel COVID form, I was able to change like a contact details, email and mobile number of any person for I know his or her birth number. And this was like crazy. But the thing is that the birth number in Slovakia is a sensitive information. It's not a public. Unlike birth dates, it's not a public. Like birth number is like a sensitive information, and you can publish this. So this was just a partial hack. So I was just looking, okay, I am able to download the COVID certificate of any person in Slovakia, but I have to know this birth number, which is a sensitive private information. So how to get all these birth numbers of any citizen in Slovakia. And then I revealed in 10 minutes maybe, I revealed another government website. And at this website, it was possible just to put like a birth number and the name. And that application, this government application, it was like an application for verification if the given person pays healthcare insurance or not. So basically, you put their like birth number and the person like name, and the application just returns you like a true or false, depending if the given person in Slovakia has a healthcare insurance or not. So I revealed this another website, and I realized, so it's quite easy. I can do like an enumeration attacks. So now, as I told you, like a birth number consists of 10 different digits. Like first 6 digits are just birth date, and other 4 digits are some random number, like a 4-digit random number. But what is quite important about these birth number is they have to be dividable by 11. So basically, when you divide the whole number by 11, modulo should be 0.
Oh,
quite like a verification check. It's some kind of CR verification check. So what I did for every birth date of every birthday, because you have like a 36 birthday for 1 year, and for the last 50-60 years you have like a 60 multiple 36 potential like a birthday. So basically, I generated all possible birth numbers of all Slovak and Czech citizens who are all, 70 years. And I generated, it was like an enumeration, like a stupid enumeration when I was just increasing like a birth date, and just to find out if I can divide the whole given number by 11. If yes, it was valid. So basically, I generated a database of 30 million birth numbers, potential birth numbers. I still don't know if they're valid or not, but potential numbers of all Slovaks and Czech citizens by brute force. It was like an enumeration.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
It took me like a 30 minutes, something like that. And then when I had the database of all potential birth numbers, like 50 million for males, 50 million for females, I just used this database, just this database for.
You just looked through it, or
of the healthcare insurance, just to find out if the given health number is true or false. So basically, I used another government website to enumerate and to find out if the given generated birth number is valid or not. So basically, I was able to find out, to reveal birth number of any person in Slovakia based on his birth date.
Nice.
Okay. So,
That's nice.
Okay. And the question is how I can find out the birth date of the given person. It's quite easy. All famous people, like politicians, like celebrities, they have the birth numbers at the Wikipedia, for example, and all other like common people, they have their birth number at Facebook. It's quite easy.
Okay.
We are the Wikipedia, like 80% of our population. It's quite easy. So thanks to Wikipedia, I was able to find out like birth dates of all like celebrities, politicians, and using Facebook, I was able to find out like birth dates of all other people I wanted to know their birth dates. And then using another government application, which is used for verification if you have the healthcare insurance or not, I use the application to find out what is the birth number of the given person with the given birth date. And then when I have this birth number, I use the different government application just to download, to change his or her contact detail, like email and phone number. And then another third application, I was able to download his or her COVID certificate. So it was like basically I found the vulnerabilities in 3 different web applications, and I was able to combine it together.
That's really nice that you're able to take vulnerabilities and then build new vulnerabilities on top of those.
Yeah. So basically, it was nothing complicated. You just need to find a good combination, and this was the last vulnerability we found. And of course, we followed the responsible vulnerability disclosure. So we contacted this National Health Institute, and they fixed it. And then when they fixed it, we released this vulnerability. And then they started to sue us.
Why did they sue you?
Because they still officially did not accept they had any vulnerabilities. So basically, they were trying to sue us for hacking their system, almost for stealing like a birth numbers. But this is like a really funny situation because we didn't steal anything. Everything we just generated.
Yeah, everything's auto-generated.
all these birth numbers were like completely artificially generated, and we use their application to find out which are like valid or not. So basically, there's, but fortunately, it seems, according to my lawyers, it seems to be to fine. So they probably will cancel this legal process.
Do they have a vulnerability program or like a vulnerability policy or some email that you are supposed to report vulnerabilities to? Or
in Slovakia, nothing like that exists. Of course,
okay.
They don't have that. They don't. So like they don't have anything like that. So, but we felt we really need to report this vulnerability because thanks to this vulnerability, basically everybody can download like a COVID certificate of any person, like a valid COVID certificate, and there are some kind of interesting consequences of this vulnerability. For example, what you can do, because for example, Pavol Luptak, my name is quite a common name in Slovakia, and there are another 15 people or maybe 20 people in Slovakia with the same name, Pavol Luptak. So using this vulnerability, you were able to download, for example, so I was able to download, for example, their COVID certificate. And if I'm for example, if I'm like an anti-vaxxer, I don't need to do any vaccination because I can use the completely digitally signed valid COVID certificate of the people with the same name. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So it's like an impersonation attack. And if I just show you like a EU COVID certificate with the same name, which is in my national ID or my passport, nobody cares. Nobody never checked like a birthday, for example, something like that. So thanks to this vulnerability, one of the consequences are these impersonation attacks. So basically, you can download the fully valid COVID certificate of any other person and just impersonate this person. And another consequence, which is quite crazy about this vulnerability, is that, for example, you can do contamination of this COVID database. So for example, if you know the birth number, so basically if you know the birthday, which is publicly available at Wikipedia, if you know the birth date of any politician or any famous person or any person, basically you can put the given person to the like a quarantine, because you can fill this form behind this person. You know, you can fill that this person is basically traveling from Kenya or I don't know, like from any country where is a lot of COVID, and basically you can put like any person in Slovakia to quarantine, and this person won't be informed at all. So basically you can compromise any person. You can restrict freedom of any person. And this is like a pretty crazy.
Do you think that's happening in other countries where you mentioned it a bit in the beginning, where you found similar vulnerabilities in other countries and in other states? Do you think that's happening?
As I know, something similar happened in Switzerland, like a few months later, and the institution which was responsible for distribution of this certificate, which was hacked, the Swiss government decided to cancel this institution. So basically, they stopped this institution. I think doesn't exist anymore. But in Slovakia, probably it is not possible. So despite this vulnerability, despite the fact that we explicitly recommended to stop these like eHranica, which is this special COVID form you have to fill when you want to enter the country, that we explicitly recommend to shut down this service because it's useless. When you can contaminate it, when you can put like a random data, when you can put random any person to the quarantine, then it can be like massively misused. But despite of our recommendation, it's still used in Slovakia because I don't know, nobody cares.
So yeah, something I didn't know about you is that you were a contributor to OWASP's web security testing guide.
Yes, I wrote like multiple articles to OWASP testing guide version 3 and also version 4, especially article about CAPTCHA and hacking CAPTCHA. Basically, one of the challenge of this hack of this COVID certificate was to break like a CAPTCHA at one of these government website, which is also very super easy because basically you could reuse the same token all the time. So very simple vulnerability of CAPTCHA.
What do you think of the current CAPTCHAs that we have today? Like, I know a lot of people are running like, there's like headless Chrome you can run in order to avoid as much CAPTCHAs as possible. Do you have any?
I can tell you.
Yep.
I can tell you that, for example, in our company, when we do penetration test, we are able to crack like a majority, most of CAPTCHA, like 99% of all CAPTCHA in a fully automatic way. So basically now you have like a private services, like a CAPTCHA killer, for example, like a commercial services, where you basically pay some subscription or you just buy
like cloud.
You basically
cracking
buy the specific API, CAPTCHA cracking. Basically, you just buy the access to API, like a CAPTCHA cracking API. And so, for example, you pay, I don't know, $1 or $2 for cracking of 1,000 CAPTCHAs, or few more dollars for 10,000 CAPTCHAs.
Oh, nice.
And using these specific services, like commercial services, you can crack basically all CAPTCHAs. So I don't believe that CAPTCHA is sufficient protection against like these automatic attacks or automatic enumeration attacks. So what I recommend personally is just to make, instead of CAPTCHA, maybe just use some rate limiting. So for example, you can specify that from the one IP address, you can download, or you can send just 5 GET or POS requests per 1 minute, for example. So just make our IP subnet, because many times some big corporation, they use just a pool of publicly available IP addresses. So basically, you can say that from this IP subnet, like a C subnet, for example, you can make 10 requests for 30 seconds. So instead of CAPTCHA, I recommend more to use like a rate limiting, basically. Some kind of rate limiting.
Oh, like putting up load balancers, or just trying to get rid of as most bots as possible.
Yeah, you can implement this rate limiting on the application level in the application itself, or you can implement it on the like a load balancer level, TCP level, or basically, or HTTP connection level. So there are like multiple ways how you can implement it. So this is what I recommend most, because as I told you, it's quite easy to crack most CAPTCHAs in a fully automatic way. I think that these CAPTCHA services, like private CAPTCHA services, they're even more sophisticated, or than, for example, me. So there are some CAPTCHAs I'm not able as a human to solve, but this artificial intelligence is definitely able to solve it. So I think we are just in the level where automated robots are more successful in tracking CAPTCHA than humans. So basically, it means it doesn't make so much sense. Yeah, but the thing is that many companies, they use CAPTCHA just because they told me, because it sent signals towards their customers that they really care about security. So basically, we use CAPTCHA because we send a signal that we care about security, but it doesn't work at all. It works against like automatic robots, but it doesn't stop any like targeted, sophisticated attackers.
Yeah. What are some of let's say that you were given free hands on like deploying a web server or something that's internet facing. What would you do to like make sure that service is running good? And what kind of like security mitigations would you do if you were to put like a web server public on the internet?
Good question. Like some general security measures, you mean? Like a...
Yeah, exactly. Like make sure it doesn't get destroyed by automatic scanners or something like that.
So I would use like some really fast and secure web server, for example, like a nginx. Nginx is probably like or nginx. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly in English. Then I would use like a web application firewall in some way. There is like a web application firewall as a module, and there are also like a mod security ported for Nginx and also Apache. So I would definitely recommend to start these or to use this web application firewall. If you want to be immune against like distributed denial of services attacks, there are like many commercial solutions, but this solution is quite expensive. So probably the cheapest solution, if you're facing these crazy, aggressive distributed denial service attacks, is probably the simple cheapest solution, just to use some specific service, like a commercial service that can help you to protect you against it. And there are many of them. Some of them are like really cheap. So
doesn't Nginx have like a lot of different plugins, and it has like different web application firewalls, like WAFs plugins, and it's an entire science that.
Yeah. So as I know, there are at least 2 Nginx web application security firewalls. One is more security, and the second one, wait a moment, I'm going just to find out.
Cool.
There are many of them, so at least two for sure. So that's what I recommend to use. And regarding this anti-DDoS protection, so there are like many other solutions. One of the most popular and the cheapest one is definitely Cloudflare. So if you want to have like a really cheap protection against distributed denial service, you can try Cloudflare. For example, we use it for like a Rfid, which is a bounty program, and it works pretty well. It's fine. Of course, I recommend you to do like regular penetration tests and security audits, and optimal situation is just to put your website to some bug bounty program. So basically, you can be sure that no hackers, no one can like black hat hackers can compromise your system.
So you mentioned there quickly Hack Trophy. What is that?
Hack Trophy is like a Central European bug bounty program. It's another company. I co-own them basically. It's very similar to the other bug bounty, like a hacker one, for example, bug bounty programs. But in case of Hack Trophy, we are focused on Central European customers. So and it's significantly cheaper. I mean, for the customers, and still, I think we pay like a good bounties for the hackers, and they can. I think they can reveal significantly more vulnerabilities because the website of like a Central European customers are not so secure. Like for example, the website of the US customers, which.
When you guys started this service, was there any other like competitor on the market? Because like you said, Bugcrowd and HackerOne, they're both very US centric, and then you have Zero Diem or what they're called. I think they're also US centric. But were you guys like the first one to do this in this type of commercial form in Europe?
Yeah, we started these platforms because similar platforms were missing in Central Europe. And the thing is that many big customers in the Czech Republic and Slovak Republic or Poland, they have their website only in the local language, like a Slovak, Czech, or Polish. So basically, it wouldn't make so much sense to put these like a Czech, Slovak, Polish application, for example, to HackerOne. So basically, we just tried to make the like a Central European alternative to HackerOne. With the hackers, we have like more than 1,000 registered hackers at this time, who speak the local language and who are able to hack the local website in the local language. So that was our goal basically.
And how has that gone with getting? Because I feel like it's very hard sometimes, both if you're a company owner or if you're an employee, to motivate a company to actually like implement a security policy. Do you have any like ideas or like tips and tricks on how do you actually motivate people to actually have a section on their website where it actually says like responsible security disclosure?
Very good question. I would say it's very hard because especially in Central Europe, like most people, they consider security as some extra luxury service, or extra luxury insurance, So basically, and in Central European companies, usually they don't have like a lot of money just to pay extra luxury service, like extra insurance, which is basically security in this situation. So it is very hard to persuade customers, for example, to implement these specific vulnerability programs or to put their application to like a bug bounty. But especially the situation is completely different in financial sector. So basically, all banks in all countries, including like developing countries, including like Central European countries, all banks and all financial institutions, they are willing to pay a lot of money for security. So this was like quite interesting because originally we started bug bounty program, especially for like smaller companies, smaller institutions that do not have enough money for penetration testing for security audits. Because basically in our bug bounty program, you can specify how much you are willing to pay for each vulnerability, and the given hackers can just accept this offer or not. So the thing is that we originally wanted to focus on these smaller businesses, but as I told you, smaller businesses, they don't have extra money for security, so they just ignore it, unfortunately, or most of them. So finally, instead of smaller businesses, we have like a bigger customer. We have like a medium or like a really big customer, banks, for example, a financial institution, that are willing to pay for security and for vulnerability programs. So this was like a change. So now instead of small customer, we originally wanted to have like many small customers, and instead of many small customers, we have a few big customers, because these big customers are willing to pay for security, for bounties, and they are willing to implement their vulnerability policy, for example. So, but it's hard. It's really hard. You usually you need to have negative experience that someone hacked you, or you just know that something
bad is going to happen. Yeah,
something bad happens, and then these people they try to invest to privacy and security more. But most people without a negative experience, unfortunately, they just ignore it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So sometimes when I talk with companies that want to have like bug bounties, I recommend them to set up a separate instance of their production server and then run a bug bounty on that. How does it work with Hacktropy? Do you have customers that are is everything towards production environment, or is there also like labs that they have set it up?
Yeah, what you just said, this is like a really good practice. So, for example, to all our customers, we explicitly recommend to use like a testing or pre-production environment, which is not like a fully production environment, the production data. But unfortunately, most of customers or many of customers, they don't have this pre-production environment.
Okay.
So I would say that despite the fact that it is like a good practice for sure, majority of our customer, they use like a production websites, but all of them can specify in the description of this like a bug bounty project that they do not wish to perform, for example, like denial service attacks or any aggressive attack. So they basically, if they're afraid that something really bad may happen in their production environment, they can specify explicit by some specific test. So I mean, all situations should be fine.
That's great. So you've been doing pen testing for a while. So what recommendations do you have for people that want to get into pen testing?
So, so firstly, you should have some coding skills, some like a coding background, be able to use some widely used programming languages like Python, C, C++, Java, JavaScript. All these is like one of the requirements. The second requirement is to have this knowledge of operating system, how the computers work. And then you should focus on some specific technology. So for example, you want to focus on Internet of Things security or Android security. And another thing I forgot to mention is like a networking security. So you should be familiar, for example, with the basic of like IP protocols, how it works exactly, how the application protocol like HTTP, SSH, and so on exactly work. So these networking skills are also like a must. And then you can focus on some specific technology and be the best. And what I can tell you is like the best hackers are the hackers who are able to combine knowledge from multiple different areas. So for example, if they are able to combine their mathematical or crypto skills with some like a specific technology, for example, or the coding skills with some specific vulnerability. So usually when you are able to understand many different topics, and then you are able to use this information from many different topics and combine it, you can become the really good hacker. You should really need to have like a wide coverage of many technologies and many topics.
That was really well said. I think I totally agree with that. And I think that like the pen testing world is so exciting, mostly, or the IT security world for the like the engineering part of it and the creative process, because every time there's a new conference, there's a new person that has found a unique way to exploit something or create some kind of vulnerability. So there's always like excitement, and there's always dopamine kicks to get from IT security, which I think is really fun.
Yeah, and there are like many people, for example, best hackers, they keep their income just like pretty high. For example, from this famous bounty programs like HackerOne. So if you're like really excellent hacker, you can gain really a lot of money just by revealing some interesting vulnerabilities, which are good paid basically.
And speaking of like I was reading today that there are people that are doing audits of these smart contracts in Solidity, and several, like being able to manipulate Solidity functions and smart contract functions, you can steal millions and billions. And that's a new field that's coming up, all these like decentralized applications.
Smart contract security is completely new field of IT security. And I not know that I expect a lot of money, that even now there is like a huge amount of money that can be perceived as a bounty for many hackers. For example, if you're like a black hat hacker, you know exactly how much money you are able to gain when you hack, for example, some smart contract. So for sure, this is like a really interesting and really perspective field of IT security, and more decentralized application we will have in the future. More people will try to find vulnerabilities in smart contracts and steal money, for example. So So I think that this IT security show is really perspective.
Yeah, definitely. Are you personally doing any code audits or code audits at the moment?
Not at all. Usually we use like a professional auditing software, and so this works like not fully, but in a big way. It's quite automated basically, because when you have to audit like 1,000 and 1,000 of lines of some specific code, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
As I know, we don't use any specific auditing software for smart contract or smart contracts. So I think that all audits of smart contracts we do in a fully manual way. So basically, we are reading like each line of every smart contract, and we look for potential mistakes and vulnerabilities.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Smart contracts should be really short. Should be really short because they are basically public. That they should be short and very easy to audit. Because if you have like a longer smart contract, it's really difficult to like make it secure. Basically, this is like a problem of any complex application. With the increased complexity, you have definitely like a more potential vulnerabilities in any system.
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. I think they're like with Solidity, they're doing like their own version of. They have like some own bytecode or something. They're doing their own assembly. They have some Ethereum own assembly.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cool stuff going on out there, and yeah.
And I expect it's a question of time. I expect like a big boom of this field, like decentralized smart contracts. So we just need to wait. One of the problem that slow down the spread of smart contract applications are just really high fees of Ethereum. I mean, gas is really high. So using these smart contracts very often that doesn't make like economic sense because it's just expensive.
Yeah. And I think a lot of companies are stuck in legacy systems as well.
Yeah.
So, Pavol, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. It was really fun to kind of poke in your head a bit, and also to hear about the COVID certificates and how that was done.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the invitation. Just because like my explanation of this vulnerability was probably pretty difficult, pretty complex to understand. I had a technical presentation and also a paper where I explained the details of these vulnerabilities. So if anyone is interested in this vulnerability, how exactly I combine together all these vulnerabilities from different applications, I can send you the link to this presentation and the link to the paper.
We will put that link in the show notes.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for the invitation, and I hope we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. We gotta have you on next time you hack a government service.
Yeah, for sure.